Okay, so this is day 7. Day 7, which means that I broke fast yesterday, and today is like a first kind of like feeling of what happened yesterday and what I'm experiencing today with Dr. Michael Klaper. Dr. Klaper, I am so excited every time I see you pop up on the screen. It really is a delight. So I'm so grateful to you, as you know.
Indeed. Thank you. And it's lovely to work with you as well, of course.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so
Okay.
as we get started today, I'm sure you want to know how I've been feeling in the last 24 hours.
Indeed.
Yesterday, believe it or not, I felt more hungry than I felt the entire time. I also felt tired and weak, so I spent a lot of time in bed catching up with some old movies,
Good.
and then this morning, and of course last night, and I'm just gonna confess to you that I did
Mhm.
this, and I don't know if
Mhm.
this is good or not, and
Uh-huh.
I'm not advocating that anybody else would do this,
Right.
but I needed something more.
Yeah.
I didn't want just the broth and
Well,
so what I
good.
did was we baked a sweet potato for me, and it was really, really mushy,
Uh-huh.
and it did the trick for me. It did the trick.
Lovely. Well done. Absolutely.
Really?
Oh, of course. Of course.
So
Uh,
Robert said to me, "What would Dr. Clapper say?" So
right.
I think I'm
Uh,
going to do a bracelet. What would Dr.
so that's why I said listen to your body, and you did. And we can put this grid over how we think this progression should go, but everybody's different. You're all different biological creatures, and I said yesterday I was ravenously hungry for days after my last fast, and you well maybe, and this is might be the early start of that. And good heavens, it's been only 5 days. It's only been 128 hours. Your body's looking for some calories,
Mhm.
and we haven't done anything drastic like a 4-week fast here. So there's no reason you can't accelerate your fiber intake a bit quicker and your calorie intake. So no, that was brilliant, and I liked that it was really mushy and soft.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to eat a big lump of tofu lasagna or something right now and put a bunch of flour and processed stuff there.
No.
But you did need the honest calories that are in a sweet potato and the natural fiber, etc. And it's a non-denatured state of that food. So absolutely, it was brilliant what you did. And
Good, good.
yeah,
I was
no problem.
concerned. I was just confessing because
Good.
Robert said, "Call Dr. Clapper." I said, "I'll ask for forgiveness."
That's okay. Honesty is the best policy,
Yeah,
and your body loved it.
yeah, and it was like I was craving it, and I don't know if
Sure.
it was the potassium in the sweet potato. I don't know what it
Yeah,
was.
probably just the calories. But the point is, and for your listeners, she didn't eat 6 of them. She ate one, and there was enough. Two. How
Yeah,
many? How many did you have? Right.
it was a big one like that. So
Good.
I would
Okay.
say I had about a little bit more than half.
Cool. Great. And that's absolutely reasonable. But you didn't do a big gorging, freak
No,
out. So
no,
that's the most important thing. And your
yeah,
body clearly needed. Those are honest calorie needs that you're made up there,
good.
and that's fine. Not a problem.
Yeah, and I also had some broth because I wanted
Good.
the
Yep.
nutrient of the broth as well. So I
Absolutely.
had a little bit of broth, and then this morning when I woke up, I had watermelon,
Hmm.
and then I had to go to a doctor's appointment. I had mentioned that to you
Right.
yesterday, and by the way, everything, my blood pressure, my pulse, the EKG that they did, everything was perfect. They were like going, wow, this is really good. They noticed that I had lost some weight. I'm like, yeah, I'm on a 5-day fast. And the woman who was a technologist for the EKG, she said, oh, I do those all the time. I said,
Wow. Look,
so that
you
it was
never
really
know.
good. Yeah.
Good.
And
Wonderful. Yay. Very encouraging.
yeah, it
Very.
was very encouraging to me because I was concerned that being that I'm coming off of a fast that it might do something for my heart but what I did say to her is I've just come out of a 5-day fast. Please allow me to rest for 5 minutes before you put any probes.
Well done.
Good,
Well done.
good, 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 good. And then this morning after I had my watermelon, I felt like I was still hungry. So I came home and I did some broth and I added some veggies and I mashed up the veggies on there. And it was like, it just is it was what I needed. Good?
Absolutely. Beautifully done.
Good.
Beautifully done. And by speaking of beautifully done, and you're just so ripe with teaching points here. You're a garden of teaching opportunities for your viewers. What Lillian did was such a subtle but important power move in taking control of her own health care. In medical school, we're taught basic physiology. The very act of walking across the room or standing up, sitting down, raises your blood pressure. It's normal. It goes up for a few minutes and comes down. That's what's supposed to happen. But we have to take, if you really want to get an accurate reading of blood pressure, you have to take that physiology into account. So we're taught in medical school, do not take anybody's blood pressure until they've been sitting quietly in a chair for 5 minutes. Let everything come down the baseline and then check the pressure. Makes sense. But in the modern world, there's waiting rooms and a hurried nurse, and you walk in, she sits you down, throws a cup on your arm, and your pressure might be elevated just from the very act of walking. Plus, you're also a little anxious. You're in the doctor's office and all of that. And what Lillian did was such an elegant power move. She told the nurse, "Stop! Can you let me sit here? Or can you take it after I've been sitting here quietly for 5 minutes?" Brilliant. That's what you do. And I really encourage your viewers to follow your example. That was a brilliant move.
Oh, good.
That's what needs to happen. Well done.
I just remember you saying, you just sat down. I don't want to take your pulse. And I don't know if you did that on the air, if you did that privately, but you probably did it on the air because I took my pulse every time on the air. And you said, you want to wait 5 minutes. And so that stuck with me. I'm telling you, you're like my new Jiminy Cricket.
Brilliant.
I asked her and she said, because I was there because I know that their office visits are like timed,
Yep, sure.
And so I said, listen, before you take my blood pressure and my EKG, let me just lay down flat because that's where I'm going to end up being. Because once I get up and I lay down again, I just do both at once. So I lay down and she was like, yeah, sure, go ahead, And so while I laid there, I just calmed myself down and I felt my heart going from, heart rapid to just like calm. And once I knew I was calm, I said, you can take my blood pressure now.
Beautifully done. That great power.
I have got a voice.
Yeah, you do, and you use it for your own advocacy. That's wonderful. Good for you.
Yeah, and I want to encourage everybody. I think that's one of the purpose of the show is in the classroom is to learn these truths and demand them for yourself.
Absolutely.
So once I learned about this 5-minute rule, I'm going to ask that from now on.
Absolutely. The doctor and the nurse, they're working for you, not the other way around. You're entitled to accurate readings here.
Yeah.
Because you have to ask, what are these numbers telling us? If they're just the reflecting the physical activity walking across the room, that's not telling you. That's not your resting state. That's not the pressure your arteries have to deal with all the time. So good for you for getting accurate numbers.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so one of the things that I had shared with you that I had not experienced during the whole entire fast was bowel movements. And we had talked about that probably on the second or third time that we met. But I do want to talk about this little guy and what we should expect. Yay, say hello. I really would like to talk about what should we expect to see, what could happen to maybe if someone is on their second or third day and they still haven't had a bowel movement, what to expect.
Okay, very important. So we've given the big whoever's done a 5-day fast, you've given yourself a 5-day respite. You've just told your intestines take a few days off. Just go to your resting state, and your intestines been doing that. But again, everybody's different depending on the food you've been eating before the fast. That determines the microbes that are down in your colon waiting for food, etc. And Even though and first of all, no one usually has a totally empty intestinal tract. There's always rice and lentils from, a day or two before, tucked away somewhere.
10 years ago, there's a steak in there.
But no, not really. And people have this, the colon therapists and other folks put that image in people's head that you've got 10-year-old cheeseburgers clean to the wall of the intestine. That does not happen.
Gum.
It cannot happen. Please do not think that you've got this fetid sewer pipe in your abdomen. It's clean and slick and pink and healthy. Nothing can stick to the colon wall. It's a wet membrane. It's secreting mucus. It's constantly moving, and there's a fecal stream pushing along. Nothing sticks to your colon wall. Cannot happen. If it did, the wall, the tissue under there would necrose and perforate. You'd wind up with peritonitis. That's a scary marketing image, but it has nothing to do with realities. In 47 years of medicine, I've looked up hundreds of colons. I have never seen a piece of anything clinging to the wall of the colon, and it's not an appropriate image if you really want to care about your health there.
Yeah.
But that said, this 5-day state of quiescence is a special state, and what people don't appreciate, one, there's always some fiber, foody stuff, material. It's never an empty, clean colon 100% going into the fast. And second, just because you're not eating food doesn't mean things aren't happening in there. You've got a stomach that secretes mucus. All the intestinal tract, you have 22 feet of small intestine, and you've got mucus glands that are secreting mucus. They're secreting enzymes. They're sloughing intestinal cells off into the fecal mass here, and frequently these long, thin accumulations of mucus and sloughed off cells and coagulated enzymes and white blood cells that just slither along in the intestine. The bacteria, the intestine downstream tries to digest that and reabsorb nutrients. The bacteria work on it. And as a result, when the first bowel movement finally happens, we see all sorts of wild and wonderful permutations. They're different colors, different shapes, different long, skinny, small, balls. None of it really matters. It doesn't matter. It was what your intestine needed to do over these 128 hours of rest and what the microbes did and all that stuff. None of it really matters. It's just, if you let your car, sit in the garage all winter, and the first time you turn it on, you might get some black smoke coming out of the back. Chemistry has happened in the crankcase and all that stuff. Kind of a rough analogy there. None of it really matters. But again, another reason why you want to go into this fast with 3 or 5 days of fruits and vegetables only, because here's the payoff time for that advice. Mm-hmm. Because you want just plant material, starting up and working its way out there. You don't want to have had white bread or cheese or fish or anything like that. Imagine what that would have created on this day. So one is not to care too much about whatever comes out initially. Second, we're gradually increasing the amount of fiber in your diet from the watermelon and the vegetables and now the sweet potato, etc. Yay, that's a beautiful increase in fiber. And you're giving your intestine a little bit more fiber to get a form of solid stool with and to get some purchase on it to push it along the intestines. And surely, especially today, by the end of today, we might be adding a little bit of quinoa or some more starchy vegetables in there. You're clearly doing okay on that score. And so that's going to start producing more solid bowel movements. And you'll start having bowel movements once a day. At the most, you might skip a day, but I suspect you, because of who you are and your clean diet, etc., will be having bowel movements fairly regularly over the next 24, 48 hours. Mm-hmm. That said, we occasionally get folks who day goes by and they're eating, nothing comes out. Second day, then on a third day, they haven't had a bowel movement in 3 days. We don't want them to get plugged up in that The longer a fecal mass sits in the colon, the job of the colon is to extract water out of the fecal mass. So the longer it sits in the colon, the drier it gets, and the drier it gets, the harder it is to push out. So by day 3, if people haven't had some kind of evacuation, we're starting to want to help things along a little bit. The safest, most benign thing that we do, again, this day 3, the person's eating veggies and fruits now anyway. We'll have them in the morning, take 4 or 5 dried organic prunes, put them in a dish of water, and let them soak all day. And by evening time, they're all plump and rehydrated. And you have those 5 prunes for dessert. And you have 5 prunes before you go to bed. Well, prunes, it's an old-time remedy, but it works. And they do have a laxative action. And very often, that's all that's needed. If no bowel movement happens, do the same thing the next night. And the following morning, you usually get some results. If you don't, if after 2 days of rehydrated prunes going through, nothing's happened, then we'll have them brew up a nice stiff cup of tea that has a natural laxative, senna tea, cascara tea. There's laxative tea, smooth move, one of those kind of teas. And have a cup of that.
What did you call the tea, Dr. Klaper?
The brand name is Smooth Move.
X-Lax. Wasn't that a slogan for X-Lax?
Right. No, it's not.
Okay.
No, X-Lax is a chemical called phenolphthalein. That's what you want to use. This is cascara from the bark of the cascara tree, and senna from the senna tree, and they're natural laxatives. And so
yeah.
And so so after a couple days of prunes and a cup of senna tea, most everybody their bowel movements have started up, and by now they're eating rice and veggies and quinoa and all that stuff, and they ought to be back on the tractor. So don't put too much import into those first couple of bowel movements. It is what it is. Again, the Zen master, little stools, big stool, fine. That doesn't matter. It's okay. It's all okay.
Yes. Okay, very good.
Yep.
So I want to follow up on something you said, that nothing sticks to the colon.
Yeah.
Now, we hear all the time that when people have colitis or they have, I don't know if it's gastritis, but there's another one. There's colitis and
Crohn's disease.
And they're saying that things get stuck in the groove of the intestine, so that if there's a seed or if there's something there, it inflames it, it can rupture. Tell us how is that different?
No, that's 1950s thought about don't eat tomatoes because of the seeds. That's not what happens. Crohn's disease and colitis, these are bacterial infections of the intestinal wall from microbes that have been spawned by a diet full of sugar and meat and oils and gluten. You summon up some really nasty microbes that invade the wall of the intestine and set off this inflammatory reaction. It's a cellulitis. It's an infection of the intestinal wall from bacteria. It's nothing to do with seeds in the grooves and all that.
I just pictured. When you were saying that, I just pictured. Okay, here's my walnut. It's like pulling onto the colon.
No, it doesn't. Won't do that.
Okay.
Right.
See, that's just marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're eating again the greens and the quinoa and the lentils, you're creating these big soft fecal masses that like an intestinal broom that push everything along the wall, all this slick membrane. Nothing's going to stick to that. It just that's the beauty of a whole food plant-based diet. It creates these lovely soft bowel movements. My friend Rip Esselstyn has for Engine 2, he's got a T-shirt that says, "Eat plants, take epic dumps." And in a way, it's kind of true there. So no, people should stop scaring themselves with that image. And
very good, very good. Okay, so is there anything else that people should be looking for as they're finishing up their fast and they're going into, now they're re-entering, nutrition?
Right.
Like, I've made a commitment that I'm staying away from processed foods.
Yeah.
I want to stay away from processed foods. I know sometimes, there's people, there's chips, and those are just the things that kind of get us. And once you eat one chip, you need to have like 3 cups. And so, I know how it is. And so I'm staying away from it, and I'm going to start re-engineering some of my recipes that might require, bread, for example, or my pizza, for example. Instead of having like the bread, I think I'm just going to stay with maybe a tortilla, which, like a corn tortilla that's sprouted. Something different. I'm just re-engineering in my mind. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm trying to re-engineer it. So, as we go through and we re-enter into this new, I guess you're going back into your lifestyle.
You are, yeah.
What are some of the things that people should be warned about?
What a beautiful and important question.
Okay.
And Lillian, you're really touching the important bases once again, and I'm not trying to be, that's not flattery. You raised a very important point. When it comes to, you're kind of being reborn. You gave your intestines this 5-day respite, and it's healed and settled itself. What are you going to put down there? How do you bring it up into a state of optimal function? Well, again, circling back to, I think we might have covered this at the beginning, and I say in my lectures, we've evolved through the simian line of creatures on this planet. We have the same basic digestive system that our gorilla cousins and our bonobo cousins have. And they're up in the trees eating leaves and fruits. We eat live herbage mostly is what this intestinal tract has been designed for. Well, so given that truth, you don't see, many cereal boxes in the where the mountain gorillas live. They eat the foods as grown, as it's growing. And so we kind of want to recreate that, at least pay some homage to it. And it was so right of you saying, I don't want to eat processed foods. Yes. That's exactly the point at this point, especially now in this pristine state that your gut is in there. So, let's honor what the gorillas and the bonobos are telling us. And you can imagine, even as you say the things, papayas and cantaloupe and fruit of all types, that feels right at this point. Steamed, well-steamed kale and broccoli and chards and greens, yes. Sweet potatoes, yes, lovely. Anything in the whole plant vegetable kingdom, so that works. Depending on, if it's raw, chew it really well. If it's steamed, you steam it, so it's easy to digest. Then there's a time to get into the grains. You need something more substantial. You probably want to go with the non-glutinous grains, quinoa, millet, buckwheat. And again, small amounts. I wouldn't cook up a whopping bowl of this stuff and wolf it down, even though you might be hungry. Because then, and people would do that, especially with the salads. Raw vegetables. And they would load up their plates with these massive mounds of salad. They say, it's day 2, I can eat salads. And they would wolf it down, and they wouldn't chew it. And they would sit they wind up with a massive unchewed cabbage and carrot fiber. It's tough stuff in their stomach, and the phone would ring in the mid-afternoon, and the guests at True North, they're lying on the bed, rolling, holding their tummy. I can't believe I ate all that fiber. So easy does it in the refeed here. And if you do the raw foods, chew them to a cream. Put a forkful of salad in your mouth, put the fork down, make salad puree in your mouth before you swallow it. Really liquefy them as much as you can, the raw stuff. The cooked stuff, the soups and all stuff, lovely, chew them, yeah, absolutely. But this is a nice time for well-steamed veggies and soups and high water content kind of foods. They're easy for your digestive system to handle. And then we get into the legumes. Easy does it. They can be a bit gas producing. If you've had an issue with that before, you can make up a nice lentil stew or a bean chili, but just have a couple of tablespoons on your salad or something, and eat. That's enough for let the rest cool. Put it in the fridge, and the next day throw a couple of more tablespoons on, and slowly increase the amount of these these leguminous proteins. And even though you might be ravenously hungry, again, as much as you can, fill up with the actual fruits and vegetables, et cetera, at this point. But as I said, I find quinoa, buckwheat, millet are good starchy grains, and a sweet potato is nice and starchy. And they're very, very satisfying. And Easy does it. We start getting into the process where Easy does it with the nuts and certainly nut butters. That's already becoming processed stuff. Yeah, not now. Don't stay away from those. Though again, I think Dr. Furman's got a good idea. It's okay to crush up some walnuts and put them on your salad. Sprinkle some sunflower seeds on your salad or in your soup. That's fine. But again, hold it to a handful amount. Don't shovel in handfuls of nuts. So I would stay on the high water content, whole fruits and vegetable side, chewed up really well, savored, seasoned as you like it. Though you're going to find you enjoy the taste. You can finally taste what a mango tastes like. Taste what a cantaloupe tastes like. Your taste buds should be so much more attuned and acute. Enjoy that state. It's a wonderful thing before we slather all sorts of chilies and ketchup on them. So that'd be my advice. Stay natural and whole, and be patient. And Easy does it with those concentrated legumes.
Yeah, and because we're an all-inclusive classroom, I know that there are people that will want to introduce meat and animal products to their diet. When do you suggest that they introduce animal products to their diet?
I personally suggest never.
I know, me too.
Okay, just so it gets said for the record here.
Yes.
That said, man, you're gonna summon up all sorts of microbes there that you don't want to. When you eat meat, you wake up the Bacteroides bacteria. You put a bunch of carcinogens down there. All these things are going to change the balance. If you're going to eat it, I would eat it in small amounts with a whole bunch of starch. I would, and I'm sure the paleo folks will go nuts with that. But we're not carnivores, and a big lump of meat down there, as I said, spawns microbes and sets off inflammatory reactions in the arteries. You want to do. I think if like the Chinese do, if you use the meat as a condiment, threads of it mixed in with the rice or in with the soup. I would say small amounts in with the veggies is how I would do it. And put it off.
How far along? Like maybe a week or two?
I would do, well, they're going to say, I need my meat, So by day 4 or 5, I would wait at least.
Okay.
And then small amounts mixed in with the veggies.
Now, another one that you did not mention, which I love, is avocado.
Oh, yeah.
And so when can we introduce avocados, coconut, those kind of fatty foods? Yeah,
right. Similar, day 3, day 4, but again, start small amounts to start with. Don't do a whole big lump of avocado there. A few slivers on the salad, and slowly increase it over the course of a week. You can get it back into a half an avocado with a meal or whatever. But don't put a big lump of fat down there right now, because you may wind up with cramps and loose stools and all that stuff. Easy does it. Again, look at your intestinal tract after this 5-day fast, like a 57 Chevy. It's a fine vehicle, but Easy does it at the stoplight there. When it turns green, be gentle with the accelerator, as you leave the light there. So Easy does it. Don't put big lumps of fat down there and big lumps of protein down there. Easy does it. Mostly high water content fruits and veggies for the first 3 to 4 days.
There's so much controversy about protein, whether it's animal protein or vegetable protein. Is there like a right or wrong, or is it it's so confusing. It really is confusing.
Yeah, it really shouldn't be. Again, I can only speak, or I can speak from the exclusively plant-based side. And there's no question, if you are eating whole plant foods, that includes whole rice, whole beans, whole lentils, etc., and you're eating enough calories to keep your weight on, eating 2,000 calories of whole plant foods, you're going to get 50, 60 grams of high-grade protein. It's in the food. It's not an issue. You can't avoid it.
Yeah.
And so it's if you're eating whole plant foods. Now, if you're doing it on granola bars and energy drinks and all this stuff, then that's all out the window. But if you're doing truly whole food, plant-based, it's not an issue. Eat enough to keep your weight on, and the protein will take care of itself. And if you're a pregnant woman or a growing person or an older person, you want that little extra protein, then have an extra hummus sandwich or an extra scoop of lentil stew or bean chili. It's easy to load on an extra 10, 15 grams of protein, as I said, with a scoop or two of bean chili. It shouldn't be an issue, and it shouldn't be an imperative to, you got to eat meat. No, you don't. Ask any buffalo, ask any giraffe, ask any gorilla. You don't need it. So the amino acids are in the plant foods.
Very good. Very good. Anything else that you feel that we did not touch on this whole journey?
Right. Yeah. So this is a place, I used to do a lot of backpacking, a lot of hiking, and I would find, I used to live in British Columbia, a lot of mountains around there. And so we put on the backpack, and the morning, man, you're just going to spend the days doing switchbacks back and forth up the side of the mountain there. And if you just put one foot in front of the other, you're going to sweat, your legs are going to ache, but there's a reward there, and you keep on walking. And finally, you think, oh, I'm really tired. So that suddenly the trees start getting a bit thinner, and there's more blue sky up there, and suddenly you break out into this alpine meadow, and you see the snow-covered peaks out there, and wow, made it. And you sit down, and you take off your backpack, and you savor that wonderful experience and where it brought you to, and what you now know about that trail and about your own body and about persevering, and how wonderful it is to be alive and to feel the sun on your face and to feel normal function. Well, in a way, you and the people who followed you along have done a similar thing. You've put out this effort, and you put day after day of effort into it, and finally, here we are, out on this lovely alpine meadow, and we did it. And you look at what you learned, about your body, what you learn about food, and that you don't really need it for days at a time. And your body has these powers within it, these strengths within it. And feel what it's like to feel you've run water basically through your cells for 5 days. How does that feel to be, have a clean intestine, a clean cellular metabolism? Wow. So rejoice in that and celebrate it and learn whatever it is you learned. And so before we just blow past into refeeding and all that stuff, savor this wonderful victory that you've created here. And I really salute you and acknowledge this. This was not easy, and you did it with integrity and class. You did it very well. You're a great example.
Thank you. Thank you. It was easy to do with you. And it was easy to have a support group. And tomorrow, Alejandra and Victoria, we're going to have like a separate session. They made it to day 3, which is a victorious thing. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about, the gifts and lessons, what we would do differently, what we learned. And so hopefully that'll recap everything. You're welcome to join us, but it's going to be real early in the morning. And so I don't expect that, but it's all about, okay, what are the pitfalls? How do we sabotage ourselves? What are the things that we do with our mind, our spirit, and our body that keep us from, achieving not just this goal, but maybe other goals in life as well. As I entered this, I said this all along. This was going to be a 1-day fast, 5 days in a row. But what I didn't expect, that this was going to be such an incredible journey, Dr. Klaper. I did not expect that at all. And the gifts and lessons that I've learned about myself and what needs to change, and the rewriting the program that I need to eat every 2 hours, rewriting the program that I need to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, rewriting the program. And that's what I've been taught, but I need my body to tell me what does it need? What do you need, body? And just like I did in February, I said, okay, something's wrong. I have excellent blood work, excellent everything, but I'm having these symptoms that don't match. So I said to my body, lead me, guide me, show me what I need to know. And it's led me through a series where I knew fasting was going to be a part of this journey. And so sometimes we just need to stop and just listen to what the body has to say and not second guess it. We're the only species that ignores their intuition.
Absolutely. I've never had a giraffe in the office saying, Doc, I don't know what to eat. I can't help myself when I'm near these chips. You're right. Absolutely. You've done a beautiful job. And the truths that you are harvesting now are priceless. And that's exactly where you should be and realizing what you ought to be realizing. It's wonderful.
Well, thank you for helping me relearn about
How
eating.
brave of you. Yes, how brave of you to be able to. I hope all your viewers see, here is a woman who is looking at her programming and saying, that no longer serves me.
Does it serve me?
It's time to leave that behind. Whatever it was, but right now I see a higher truth, and that's what I'm going to go for. What a beautiful, beautiful reward. That's exactly the highest lesson that you could have garnered here. I'm very proud of you.
I couldn't have done it without you, Dr. Klaper.
No.
And again, for those of you who want to learn more about Dr. Klaper, you can go to Dr. spelled out Klaper, KLAPER.com. So drklaper.com. You can also go to my website at whenyouneedafriend.com because all his information is on there. And learn more about fasting. It's unbelievable. I don't know how many people have gone, you're not going to eat for 5 days. It's more than just not eating for 5 days. It's loving your body for 5 days.
Yay, sweet.
Yeah, and giving your body an opportunity, your cells, to repair your body. And so, I'm hoping that when people see this, they'll see that if I can do it, especially with your guidance, because you didn't just guide me, you guided everybody along the way. Now, again, I'd like to say that if you have any, and Dr. Klaper said that at the beginning, that if you have any medical condition that requires medication or anything, nothing that I was able to continue my thyroid medication, but if you're taking other medications, that it's best for you to go to a place where they're administering you, right, Dr. Klaper?
Absolutely, yes. Go and find True North Health Center in California, Dr. Gracie in Ohio, Dr. Sabatino in Florida. There are fasting centers around. Get some guidance if you have any significant medical problems.
Yes, yes.
I would join your meeting tomorrow. I'm going to be on a plane to Asheville, North Carolina.
That's right.
For the Engine 2 immersion. So, but if you have questions arising from that, feel free to get in touch.
I will. Thank you so much. And
you're so welcome.
And so many of people are saying how much they've enjoyed this series, Dr. Klaper. But this wouldn't have been a series without you. So let me just put it that way. So
right.
I'm thankful for people who are learning about this. They're curious about this, and they're considering this with their life. And if I can do it, I think most can do it. And even if it's 1 day or 2 days or 3 days or more,
there's something to learn.
Absolutely.
And thank you for mentioning my website. I just want to point out on my website, if you go to the video section, I have a video on fasting.
Yes, I have it right here.
Watch it right off my website. Here it is, fasting, safe and effective use of an ancient, powerful healing therapy. So that's how to get your toe in the water. You can watch it right off my website. You don't have to order them.
Yeah, but you have others. You have the sugar, the good, the bad, and the ugly of sugar, salt, and oil. And I learned a lot from that. Dr. Klaper, we've got some videos with Dr. Klaper for that. So there's so many different ways that you can learn about, things that you thought were taught to you and that were right. Perhaps maybe they were taught wrong. And it's not an intentional lie. It's learned it. We learned it incorrectly. And so when you know better, you do better. And so I'm hoping that this will help all of us say, I am unlimited.
Yes.
I am unlimited. There's so much
Yes.
wisdom and knowledge in the universe, and we all have access to that. What
Amen.
will you do to that? Will you do? How will you get that information? And so, Dr. Klaper, I will miss talking to you every day. This is like the highlight of my day.
It's been a great ride. Really
You're
enjoyed it.
like right up there with watermelon.
All right. Well, I take that as a high compliment. Fair enough. I'm in good company. You
And I
did
want to
great.
thank
Well done.
all of you for being a part of this series. Thank you so much. And I look forward to learning more with each other. So we'll see you soon. Say bye-bye, Dr. Klaper.
Bye-bye, guys. Thank you so much. All the best.